All right. So when explaining an association in AP Calc, sorry, AP Stat testing tip here, you must provide specific numerical evidence to justify the association. Just you got to give specific numbers to justify your answer. Example, according to this information, is there an association between gender and sport preference? Typo there, sorry. Well, it looks like there is because these are different. So let's explain that using specific numerical evidence. So is there an association? Yes. So 2 out of 3 equals 67% of males prefer football. 2 out of 7, or 29%, of females prefer football. %67 does not equal 29%. So there is an association between gender and sport preference. Okay? Give specific numerical evidence, right? All right. Note, if there is no association between gender and sport preference, the segmented bar graph would look like this. Actually, I really, really hate that I put these at both 50%. That's a misconception that kids have. They don't have to, I mean, it's okay if they're at 50, but they don't have to both be at 50. They just have to be the same. So if this was males and this was females, and these were both, exactly 10%, 10% like football and 90% like hockey, it doesn't matter if they're 50-50, as long as the distributions are the same, whatever the distributions are. Okay? But the left and right segmented bar graphs would match up in their segments. All right, example, and then we're done with section 1.1. Letter choice. We surveyed 170 students at the John Cooper School and asked them to choose a letter, S or Q, with no other instructions. Here's the table to the right. So I don't like that it doesn't have margins, so let's put some totals on here. This looks like 170, sorry, grand total 170, and 65, 105. All right. Okay. Why am I putting lines everywhere? Sorry. Okay. Did people seem to favor one letter over the other? Explain. Well, it looks like, so they're asking about a marginal distribution. They didn't say anything about gender. Let's just take a look at letter preference. So did people seem to favor one letter over there? Yes, I would say they did. 105 out of 170, or 62% preferred the letter S, meaning, I don't think you need to write this, but 38% preferred Q. So it looks like S was favored. Or you could say maybe S is more than half. 62% is more than 50%, I guess. I don't know. I don't think you need to write that. Explain what it would mean if there is no association between gender and letter choice. Well, if there was no association between gender and letter choice, then 62% of all females would prefer the letter S, and 62% of all males would also prefer the letter S. So it wouldn't matter what gender you are, it's going to be 62% no matter what. Based on this data, can we conclude that there's an association? Let's first calculate it. Let's take a look at the males. So for males, now we're looking at a conditional distribution. What's the distribution of letter choice for males? Well, 29 out of 70 or 41% preferred S. I did 29 out of 70. That's preferring Q. Let's go to S. That's 41. Sorry. I think that's going to be 59%, but 59%. And for females, it is 64 out of 100. That's 64% prefer S. So what do you think? It's supposed to be 62%. But it was 59 and 64. So we had a little discussion in class about this. First of all, they're different. This is not, you can say what you want, but this is not 62 and nor is this. So I could say, can we include there as an association? I would say yes, because well, to make it easy, 59% does not equal 64%. I already talked about it over here. If you want to write it in words, though, you'd say the percentage of guys that prefer S is not the same as the percentage of females that prefer S. But I've already talked about that here. That you don't have to write paragraphs for everything. But there were a couple of kids in the class that are kind of like, well, wait a sec here. That's pretty close to 62%. So that's what I wanted to talk about this comment here. If this was census data, we would conclude that there is an association between gender and letter choice, because although the percentages are close to each other, they are not the same. So if this was a census and we surveyed everyone in the population, then if we ask is there a relationship, there is. Look at this, more guys or more girls than guys, okay? But if this is not census data, if this is data from a sample, the real question we want to ask is whether we can, so instead of reading this, I'm going to try to explain it. If this is a sample, then what my real question is there a relationship between gender and letter choice in the population of interest? Now, I collect a sample and I use these values to try to make inferences or make conclusions about the greater population. Well, if this is really close to 62 and this is really close to 62, then maybe what happened was when I sampled, I just happened to get a few more girls that liked S and a few less boys that liked S by random chance. If I take another sample, maybe I would get 63% of guys and 59% of girls. Or if I do it again, so there's going to be sample to sample variation if you're taking good samples, right? So the question then becomes, is this difference big enough so that I can conclude that these differences are because there's an actual difference between guys and girls' opinions in the population of interest rather than the random sample variation, if you will. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well, but that's a bigger question. That's a question we're not going to be able to answer until semester 2. So I guess stay tuned. We are going to learn a chi-squared test for an association. In fact, some of you guys that might be doing biology, you guys may have already studied this test. By the way, also, no association is synonymous with independence, which is another independence. I don't know if I'm spelling it right, but whatever. Which is another very big word. Yeah, very big word. It's another very important idea in statistics, and we're already kind of talking about it. The idea is gender is independent of sport preference. It doesn't matter if you're a guy or girl, your sport preference is going to be the same. Or it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl, your preference for the letter S versus Q is going to be the same. Okay, but let's keep things simple. Let's not worry about this sampling nonsense. If I give you a table and I give you census data and I say, is there a difference? If these numbers are different, then we say there's an association. All right, so that's the end of section 1.1. Good luck.